All right, here we go. Welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. Whether you serve residential or commercial customers, doesn't matter. If you're interested in the business of the contracting business, then welcome. Today, you're going to get the unfair advantage, the inside track. There are secrets other contractors already know and they're using all around you. And if you're curious as to what those are, stay tuned. We're going to be sharing them here and in other episodes. Today's guest is Robert Burrage. Now, he's an ex-Marine. He did computer networks for the Marines. If you watch this as a YouTube video, you're going to smile like I did because he does not look like an IT guy. He looks like an ex-Marine. And I say that as a compliment. You're also going to hear in his voice a confidence, a direction, a centeredness that comes from understanding his values. You'll see what I mean. You're going to love this episode. Anyways, he started in construction. He got a job out of college. They were looking for a project manager with an IT background, and the rest is kind of history. He now builds, here, let me explain Robert Burrage by one point of definition. He has a YouTube channel, and it's called Building for Billionaires. Pretty sure you're going to want to listen to what Robert has to say. Follow him on LinkedIn. His name is Robert Burrage, Burrage. You can also follow him and his company on Facebook. Of course, if you're on Facebook, join us on the Contractor Strategy group, where we talk all things business and all things strategy and all things pricing and profits, etc. It's a business owner place. I can't believe I got to do this, but why is this episode important at all? Well, he builds home for billionaires. I went on Zillow and I found the craziest things. Here's what I found. This is the kind of homes we're talking about. 8-bedroom, 15 bath, 25,000 square feet for $79 million. It's a starter home, right? 9-bedroom, 18 bath, 17,000 square feet for $85 million. And then I thought, well, let me see if I can find the cheapest home in this neighborhood. It's in Manalapan, Florida. It's right on the beach, right? Right on the beach. The cheapest one I could find was a little in-law place, something you'd get your parents or maybe your kids as a starter home. It's $6 million and it's 4-bedroom, 5 bath, and about 4,500 square feet. How cool is that? Now, I say all this because I want to underline and underscore. You might think, well, how does this guy have anything that's going to relate to me? We're only a $1 or $2 or $3 million business a year. Or maybe you're doing 800,000 a year and you're wondering how you're ever going to make it to 1.2. Look, all we have is problems with zeros. That's all it is. But what I want you to hear is the conviction and the focus on systems and the focus on culture and people that Robert brings to this episode. You are going to love it. So do I have your attention? Probably. Probably. Let's get to it. Now, before I do, though, the other thing I didn't say is his mindset, his conviction, right? The way he approaches things. And since I said mindset, you know that's the segue into dad jokes. Now, why dad jokes? Why bad jokes? And why dad jokes poorly delivered with poor timing? Because that's how Ravino rolls. Of course, I want you to have these dad jokes so you can share them with other people and get the groans and moans that you're giving right now as you listen to this. And by the way, I know you're looking forward to this part of the show. We all are. So don't act like you don't care. Here they come. Actually, I forgot. I actually was hit. I got an accident today. I was hit by a rental car, of all things. Yeah. Bloody hurts. Yeah. My friend quit his job today at the helium factory. He said he wasn't going to be spoken to in that tone of voice anymore. For a lot of people, marriage, just like a deck of cards, at the beginning, all you need are 2 hearts and a diamond. After 20 years, you wish you had a club and a spade. Oh. So my wife, Deidre, some of you have spoken to Deidre before. She's always bugging me, saying I'm going deaf. So to make her happy, prove that I'm okay, I finally went to the doctor about it. So I get to the office, pretty normal. They put me in the exam room. I'm there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Doctor walks in the room and he says, "Okay, sir, can you describe the symptoms?" I thought, what a funny question. But I tried my best to tell him. I said, it's been on TV for years. Homer is the dad. He's this fat, lazy yellow guy. Marge is a skinny lady with tall blue hair. You got a kid named Bart, gets in all sorts of trouble. Come on, you guys. This is so there's 2 goldfish in a tank. You can see them like floating around. One turns to the other and says, "Hey, how do you drive this thing?" Great question. When you see a chicken finally crossing the road, is that poultry in motion? Hmm. Here's a joke you can tell the boys. Maybe this is more of a golf trip, fishing trip joke than a family joke, you know? Husband and wife, they're having a big fight at the breakfast table. Husband gets up. He's angry and he says, by the way, you're no good in bed either. And he storms out of the house. The drive to work, he thinks about it. By the time he gets to work, he realizes he's got to call his wife and apologize, make this a bit better. So he decides to call her. The phone just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. She finally comes to the phone. He goes, hey, look, what took you so long to answer the phone? And she says, I was in bed. And he goes, in bed this early? Doing what? And she just said, getting a second opinion. Burn. You can smell the burn from here. Hey, what's got 5 toes and isn't your foot? My foot. Oh, see, we went back to the family show. What's the best way to get to the hospital after breaking your foot? With a tow truck, of course. The tow truck, yeah. Look, I want you to stay till the end of the show for a very specific training segment where I'm going to simplify and solve a common business problem. What we're going to do today is I'm going to give you an inside look at a piece of a strategic planning that a home renovations business did. I want you to see the owner's mindset at the beginning of this strategic plan. Me and my team just kicked off this new client. And so I thought you might appreciate the fresh eyes that the owner and his team are bringing, and also what they're looking for out of having a strategic plan. You know, if you've ever wanted to have everything out of your head and on paper, that's the series of exercises that we take people through. And you're going to see the inside track and what somebody else has done. They're pretty interesting to see where other people are, especially if you're in the home reno business. And these guys are currently, let me just give you a dollar figure so you can see if you're like them. 1.075 million, pretty specific. There you go. So you're going to get an inside track look at $1 million contractor and what they want to accomplish. So we'll see you on the other side. Mr. Robert Burrage, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You've got a nice tan and you seem calm for a guy in Florida right now.
It's a beautiful place to be, especially as a contractor.
The wind is coming through right now and really cleaning things up.
It definitely is. Unfortunately, more so in the panhandle than down here. And so,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you getting on here because I kind of half thought with the weather going through right now, you guys might be scrambling or fixing things, you know.
Yeah, I think the weather, the bigger concern, and we kind of talked about this before we jumped on. I think the impact of the storm and just overall supply chain issues is the only real concern in our South Florida area right now.
Right. Everything, what is it? The butterfly's wings, something happens over here and it affects everything else over there.
Yes, sir.
So you're here really uniquely. I mean, you've got a YouTube channel called Building for Billionaires. So if that doesn't set you up for what we're going to talk about today, I don't know what does. But you've got a pretty interesting background in construction and contracting. And I want to pull that apart with you today.
I'd love to.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Let's get ourselves started. Mr. Robert Burrage, who the heck are you? And how is it that you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all over the world?
So, Robert Burrage and a firm called RWB Construction Management. We do only high end on the ocean, but let me back you up a little bit. Moved to South Florida in 1999. My dad was transferred down here. I finished my senior year of high school, played football for Martin County High School. Bruised my spinal cord playing football.
I've never bruised your spinal. I've never even heard of that.
My spinal cord. Had to partial paralysis, the whole nine.
Jeez, man.
Really kind of frustrated with life, and the Marine Corps recruiter was always on our campus, and I finally had enough, and I joined the Marine Corps. In the United States Marine Corps, I traveled over the entire world. I built computer networks and was a network engineer for the United States Marine Corps. Was a really cool opportunity and was a way for me to be able to pay for college. Came out of the Marine Corps, put myself through college. And approximately my junior year in college, I saw a opportunity at a company called Dale Construction Corporation. They had ad out they were looking for a project manager, but they were specifically looking for somebody that had an IT background. So my Marine Corps experience led to that IT background, but at the same time I was going to school for construction management.
Oh, okay.
there was 150 people that had applied for the job. I very vividly remember on West Lantana Road showing up in a full suit and there for my
Sweating.
interview, driving my ex-wife's black Xterra, Nissan Xterra. Very, very nervous. And I met with Tim Dale. And the following day, he took me through a job on Palm Beach Island on North County Road. And
Yeah.
it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. I'd been in 4 and 5,000 square foot houses. I had some
Mm.
side jobs with the AV company and doing some other stuff, and I was blown away by those. But when I went into this house in Palm Beach,
How,
the finishes, the scale, the size, the amenities that were being put into this,
yeah.
he brought me back to the office and he said, I'd like to hire you. And he made me an offer that was substantially lower than I was being paid at another. I was working for that AV firm or an AV
Right.
firm. Um,
AV being audio visual. I don't want to
Audio
assume I
video.
know. Yeah.
Yes, sir. An audio video firm. It was a smaller firm.
Okay.
It was kind of a part-time job to offset my GI Bill and help me through college.
Sure.
But even with that, what was offered to me to take this project management and this IT position for this, fairly well-known company was I had to take a pretty good pay cut. And then even more so, I was offered more money to stay with the other firm. But ultimately I decided in seeing that house in Palm Beach, I
Yeah.
saw what the opportunity was and who I could be working for. So I started working for a company called Dale Construction Corporation, and I worked there for 12 years. Uh,
Mm.
the last 5 of those 12, I independently ran that business in its entirety.
Really?
And
So you moved from IT and project management to sort of a general manager position?
I did. It was a smaller firm. It's not as quite as big as mine. I think we had 6, 7 people working for us. One of the biggest challenges in starting to work for Dell Construction Corporation, and I don't know if any of your viewers are dealing with this or have dealt with this. I was 27 years old. I was green as could be. And the superintendents that were working for Dell Construction Corporation had been there 20 plus years.
Right.
Were actually lined and teed up to take the position that at 27 years old, I walked in the door and took.
Oh, no, that's a pretty unique position and it causes some strain, I imagine, some stress.
It was difficult, especially coming in and learning that role. I was a green project manager. And
Right.
technically, my title probably should not have been project manager, just to be perfectly honest with you. I did learn and assume the role very quickly. But, these guys thought they were going to have this position. And you take that element of all of a sudden having a 27-year-old manager,
Yeah.
and then this 27-year-old manager is now forcing technology into your day-to-day life and it was very, very challenging period in trying to implement and maneuver how to coach, train, teach, preach, be a manager to guys that had been this for a very long time, and at the same time start to implement technology.
Change.
When I
And
started there, they had 2 CPUs and 2 Chirp Nextels. That was it.
hey, listen, just a quick side note. If anybody wants to see how Robert deals with technology gone wrong, watch his video called Coffee Machine Smackdown, and you will see how Robert and his team deal with tech that doesn't work. I
That,
I I,
that
I
pure
laughed.
Keurig
I
machine.
laughed so much at that thing.
Uh,
It was perfect. Yeah. But
What we do and how stressful it is, some days it's okay to spend 3 or 4 hours just goofing off and doing something
and doing
different.
that, I actually have that same machine at my office. And now you've inspired me. Maybe I'll go do that. But I want to go back to this. You had to bring change to people that sounds like they were resistant to change. You were a young guy moving up through the ranks where other people thought they were going to take that position. Um, what did you do that the owner of Dale Construction, who's no slouch,
No.
recognized in you those qualities and said, if I'm going to put this baby that I've created in somebody's hands, it's going to be you.
I think it was a combination of my background and my willingness to outwork anyone.
Mm,
Myself and Tim Dale, and I vividly remember this. Dunkin' Donuts wasn't even open, and we were sitting at a table running estimates and qualifying bids and qualifying contracts. 3:30 in the morning, and that was very normal for us. I still had a full college load because I had still had a full
oh, you're
time.
still going to school.
Yes, sir. I had to finish
Yeah.
my junior and senior year while I was working full time at Dale Construction. So I was working 60, 70 hours a week at Dale Construction with a full college load.
Okay. It's
So
interesting. And how much do you think your military background and the discipline and the operational execution of the military background played a part in that?
I would say that the Marine Corps certainly helped me mature.
Yeah.
You know, religious or not, I think there's a reason everything happened in my life, and I did not go off to play football. I don't think I would have been nearly as successful if that was the path that I had gone down. But I would certainly say that it helped me mature, and that it helped me, better understand. And it's what's something that's really important in our business now is hierarchy and chain of commands,
Mm,
having a flow where everybody knows their position. Everyone's equally as important, but they answer to somebody on that chain so that you can grow a business.
yeah. It's funny. I was, to prepare for this interview, I watched, you've got a YouTube channel, we should remind people, called Building for Billionaires. That doesn't need a lot of explanation, folks, if you want to know the kind of homes they build. Um, but I was watching one with your superintendent, Adam Smith, which I have to tell you, I'm upset with the world. That's only got 300 some odd views, and it's probably one of the better things that everybody out there who has a super should watch that one, because the first thing he talks about is communications. And then the last thing he talks about is taking ownership for the things you do, being accountable. And I think his final line is, if you screw up, own up to it.
Of course,
But imagine how much better all of our companies would be if we, as the owner, first, we have to take ownership,
always.
right? If I don't do it, they're not going to do it. But then we also have to allow them to do it. And people are going to screw up. They didn't wake up this morning coming to my company to try and screw up and throw things in it happened. But it's how we recover from that that's important. And that's what I picked up, not only from Adam Smith's, but also Wendy Francois. Same thing. It's about communication. You mentioned hierarchy, systems, process. It doesn't just happen overnight. It must be hard to keep that aligned and tending to that culture all the time.
Well, I think where we vary a little bit is every Monday morning, I bring my entire team in, 34 people,
Mm,
admin, field, superintendents, project managers. The entire team comes and sits at our conference table, and we run through with leadership where we are as a team, what we're trying to accomplish, where our failures were. That's
mm.
Monday morning. Tuesday morning is specific to our administration, the support staff that supports our construction business, our estimators, our project administrators, our accounting, our billings. Then Wednesday morning is specifically project management, my executive team. In that constant, and some people would look at that and go, well, that's a lot of meetings.
I was just going to say, yeah, no, go ahead, please continue. I want to hear that. Meetings
And
are a waste of time, Robert. You kidding me?
I don't agree at all. And I can prove that, and I can almost prove it in dollars from when we had to go to Zoom because of COVID. So
Right.
Florida never shut down. We kept going. We never slowed down at all. We were building three or four 20 plus thousand square foot houses when COVID hit, and we had to adapt. So
Mm.
when we went to Zoom, it wasn't just COVID that was causing the lack of productivity. It was that face-to-face interaction multiple times a week and holding people accountable, that we had lost that. We had lost in our business.
Okay. So Zoom made it less
Zoom
effective.
actually reduced our productivity.
Okay. Okay.
You put 30 plus people on a Zoom
Oh
call.
yeah, people
You got a
hide.
couple
Or not
guys in
hide,
their
they just get
trucks. And,
lost. They get
yes, sir.
lost.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They're on their phone. They're checking their text. There's a big difference between that and sitting them in a room and communicating across the board what the team is trying to accomplish, where we're trying to go, and who we're trying to be.
Yeah. Let me piggyback on that. Because I agree with you. And I believe meetings are valuable as long as they're valuable meetings. But the accountability is gone when we're not in the same room together. Because when I have to say, for instance, that, hey, listen, we framed that wall backwards, I have to say it in front of everybody else. The only reason I use that as an example, Robert, is because I've done it. But
I'll give you a better one. When I'm super green, super green, brand new Dale construction,
yeah.
I'm running masonry openings, and I do this whole presentation on PowerPoint, and I bring it to the window guy, and we have this team meeting. I'm running through this PowerPoint. I'm so proud of myself. I had all the MOs swapped,
Oh no.
and he was so happy to tell me I was wrong.
Oh, absolutely, right. But then that's where you take that ownership and you move
I never
forward.
did it again wrong, so it
Yeah,
worked.
right. Now you know. No, you
I
don't.
have a lot of successes from my failures.
So, geez, I mean, today you and I are here to talk about billionaires, how billionaires think, act, and do. And what I hear most from you already is there's a lot of determination in your voice. There's a lot of confidence. But are you hiring from a magic pool of people who automatically think and act and do things the way you want? Or where, like, how are you bringing your own personality alive inside the company?
I think that's a component of those meetings and that time spent with me. I don't have as much time in the field as I used to. And
Mm,
I can take, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've been the most successful with bartenders or waitresses in admin positions because they can take a 10-person order at a table
yeah.
and remember every single thing and every condiment and everything they didn't
Mm.
want. And I'd like asparagus versus broccoli. And you
And
take a person that can handle that type of order in their mind and you teach them a little bit and you can go miles and miles and miles with this person. So I
mm,
don't particularly look for a specific pool of people to hire from. We look for people that want an opportunity, that want to learn, that want to grow, that see that where I'm going is not going to get me where me and my family want to be. If you come in my firm and you have initiative, we will teach you everything else you need to know.
yeah.
And some of that is, a component of the software in the workflow that we are developing, where we can almost take anybody and plug them into any one of our positions with a minimal amount of training, and it runs itself.
Right.
So,
Right.
to kind of circle back, once they're on our team, I'm not out in the field as much as I am. So there's very little interaction and understanding who I am and how we run the business. So that's why that Monday morning meeting, as we grow, these guys get to come in, they get to hear the experience, they get to understand the growth. I preach that I want to see everyone in my business be successful. And I don't think there's a lot of guys doing that. There's a video that we made not that long ago just for our guys that said, come and take my seat, please.
Oh,
I want to
come and take
see,
your seat.
yes, sir, come and take mine. You
Right.
know, I want to see you guys grow and really just engulf yourself in this learning process because as the individuals grow, the business grows. So the
You
more I
know,
pour into the individual, the better the business gets.
it's funny. We're here talking about construction. We're here talking about the business of the construction business. I'm here talking to a guy who builds home for billionaires. You're probably doing all right, scraping a few together yourself. But all we've talked about is people development and attitude. And you know what I hear quite often from in frustrations from other business owners is that look, it's hard to build a good team. And then when myself and my coaches help them get a good team, we're like, well, let's get into the onboarding. They're like, I'm kind of busy. We didn't do that onboarding piece. Oh, your face just changed and you're laughing. Go.
So Wendy Francois, you mentioned Wendy's video on our
Yeah, I
YouTube
saw his video. Pretty
channel.
good and attitude, like
So
confident, positive.
Dominic, guess where I got Wendy in this pool? In the pool of South Florida. Take a
I'm gonna
wild guess at where I got him.
I'm gonna say bartender because you said bartender before.
Nope, not this one. This one was my son's Pop Warner assistant football coach 4 years ago.
Nice.
20-year-old kid
Yeah.
who had the most ambition I'd ever seen. I got to know him. I loved him. I loved his attitude. I loved his perspective on things. And again, if you have that initiative, if you have that drive, I can teach you how to do anything.
Yeah. It's just
So he
technical
was
work.
working in a gym. He was barely making, he wasn't being taken care of. I don't want to, say anything ill,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I said, come work for me. I'll give you a position where you can make money and continue to grow the rest of your life.
Which is
And
true. I mean, construction's never going away, man. Our trade is on forever.
he's 23 years old. He's got a semester, maybe two of college. And there's not a kid coming out of college making what he's making.
Yeah.
And his drive, his initiative, you can't build that into people. They have to come with that. You
Yeah.
can pour into, coach, teach, and train people how to do their jobs. But if you take somebody that just wants to have an 8 to 4 job, that's not the
That's
right.
what you're going to get.
You
Yeah.
don't belong in my business if that's the case. And
Yeah.
and quite honestly, I'll sit on a Monday morning meeting and say, hey, there's the door. If you have a 9 to 5 and that's what you're looking for, this industry isn't the right place for you to be.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that in a couple of your videos there. And it's not us taking advantage of people. It's just that you either have that drive or you don't. We're here to do
Oh
a
no,
project. And
not
we're
by any
building
means.
for billionaires. There's a lot of pride in the work you do. I can tell. There's a lot of pride. I mean, obviously there's pride in building those things, but you can build it and hate it, or you can build it and be absolutely proud that you're building these homes that most people never get to see the inside of.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
finish work is incredible. You know that I have two podcasts. The other one is really focused on architectural mill workers and cabinet makers, and a lot of those guys do they're one of your sub trades.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
it,
sir.
it comes down to, we can teach anybody something technical, but it's the attitude that gets somebody through sanding moldings by hand, thousands of feet, but knowing they're building a quality product.
And do you have that drive as a project administrator? I use Wendy as an example to stand in line at the building department until they're closing and have that,
Permit
learn how
conversation.
to build that personal relationship with the clerks behind the desk so that in the future they help you. And when I was doing that position, because as a PM, I did it all. I was project administrator, I was accounting, I was estimating, I was contracts, I was everything. So I know these positions because I've done them.
Yeah.
And I've taught these guys, especially as my project administrators, one of the ways I used to be successful in a couple of the municipalities down here is I would take my little girl, my little blonde hair, blue-eyed girl, when
Yeah.
she was 2, 3, 4 years old, and I'd bring her into the building department and
Oh,
just
they
say,
love her.
help. So,
that, that,
my team actually does that now. It sounds goofy as could be, but you get that nice, lovely woman behind the desk who's very interested in the kid. It
and they
helps.
want to help you, and you're humanized. Well, here's something that's interesting in what you did there is you do have to think about what the rest of the people showing up in the building or the planning department's day. They're coming in angry, they're coming in demanding, they're coming in yelling. But if they see you in line and there's two people to choose from, who are they going to go talk to?
Yeah.
Robert, Bob, good to see you. How's your little girl? It taken into account those little things actually makes a big difference. Can I give you an example that I did in another business?
Oh, please.
We hired a receptionist, right? Great person, totally skilled. And so I'm doing her onboarding training. And I said, now we got to talk about the mailman. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, the mailman. So when he comes in, I need you to talk to him, make sure he feels comfortable, ask him if he wants a coffee, ask him if he wants a soda. He always needs to feel welcome here. And she's like, okay. I go, do you want to know why? She's like, yeah, because this is weird. I go, because he makes a decision on whether our check comes in the mail or not. If it's a Thursday and he doesn't have to come to our building, he'll just say, well, I'll just stuff it and leave it till Monday, which means
Mhm.
I didn't get a check I needed on Friday, which means maybe we couldn't make payroll or couldn't do something. Said, so that mailman actually controls our cash flow. She's like, oh my God, really? I'm like, yeah. So we always took care of the mailman. He would always come by for a visit. He never drank the coffee, but we always offered it to him. And those little things make a difference.
They do. I think you asked why I'm where I am. And I think some of it comes from my background. My parents worked very hard, but we didn't have a lot when I was younger. If there was hot dogs at my macaroni and cheese when I was young, it was a great night. And that's not to speak ill of my parents. They worked very hard. They tried very
Mm,
hard. But I understand what it's like to not be offered that water, to not be offered that coffee,
mm.
because I've been in that. So when the FedEx guys and the UPS guys, the same thing that you're doing, when those guys come in our office, hey guys, they know to go back to our refrigerator and grab a
And
water, grab a
yeah,
gator,
you're welcome here.
coffee if you want.
Yeah.
And it changes everything. And one of my predecessor, Tim Dale, before I bought his business 6 years ago, one of the things that he taught me the best, it was inadvertently, he for some reason he never saw the value in aligning yourself with the team, whether that's the mailman, the UPS guy, but more so the designers, the
Yeah.
architects, the engineers. I always saw that as a problem. If you work as a team and if you hire and work with people that understand that we are working towards a common goal, the
Mm,
success is 10 times over what it could be without. The project is better. The headache, the brain damage for the client is removed.
yes.
There's a give and take in that. Some architects you can be a little bit more friendly. You can have those relationships. Some are a little bit more stern and hardcore, but you can still have a relationship that's mutually beneficial to the project and
Mm,
move the project and the ball down the field.
yeah.
Instead of having that there is no ego in what my business does. We are very good at what we do. Uh,
I'm surprised that you say there's no ego, because I would imagine that somebody who's a billionaire who's contracted you to build their home has a lot of confidence, and they might even want to tell you what to do, where you're the contractor and you know what to do.
I'll give you a great example.
Yeah,
I
I
once
saw your face change. There was a like, yeah,
give you a
no,
great
that's not how it
example.
works. Yeah, yeah.
So I had a client I built a house for. It was custom suit. I won't tell you where it was. I won't tell you the town it was in. We built on this house, oceanfront house. Ultimately, somebody knocked at the door a year later and offered them almost $100 million to buy this house.
Mm.
But during the construction of the house, this client, again, think about the wealth, takes an Uber from the airport after landing in his jet to his house. The Uber driver gives him a million suggestions on what he should be doing in construction. The next day, I get a 3-page email about the things that we need to think about per the
Yeah,
Uber driver.
from the Uber driver. Yeah. Now, listen, we don't know if that Uber driver wasn't a civil engineer from some other foreign country who actually
I
has
mean,
some
it's
wisdom,
possible.
but but he's not a South Florida trained guy. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of confidence in my team, in our reputation. When you get into what I'll call a club, and you can figure out what kind of club it is. It's based on my YouTube channel's name. When
Hmm.
you get into that club, if you're doing what you say and saying what you do, you can be very, very successful just by word of mouth. I truly believe in marketing. I believe in social media. I pay for all of that
Hmm.
stuff in-house. I have my own CTO, my own digital media director, my own content creator. I have all of that stuff in-house, but the value in getting new clients to that is almost nil. They come and they check it for a couple of minutes. It's really their
They already know
friend
they're going to use you because their friend
so-and-so.
Fred used you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. They're just
And
waiting
they
until
see
it's
my
their.
signs going up and down the road, and it's we're in we build relationships. We build
Hmm.
houses, but we build relationships. If you were to come to South Florida and say, "Hey, Rob, take me down this road, show me one of the projects you do," and I could not even call the clients, go up to their front door in their estate, knock on it, and me and you could walk the house, because that's the type of relationship we have
Right.
with the people that we're working for. We coined the term concierge builder, and I truly mean that. Like, we had an A-list celebrity a couple of Thanksgivings ago. My executive project manager was walking their dog during Thanksgiving because they left the dogs and just asked us if we would. During COVID and even post-COVID, we had clients coming and going and asking us to register their cars. I'm building $100 million houses,
They want you to register their car.
but we're registering cars also.
Yeah,
There's a
but
value.
doing what it takes. You're doing what it takes.
Absolutely. And people, especially if you look at South Florida, we got a lot of people moving in from California, a lot of people moving in from New York. They don't have they don't have the guy to wash their cars. They don't have the masseuse that'll
The,
come.
yeah, they don't know a guy. They don't have
So,
that local knowledge.
so when they're having us build them product or buying one of our products, they need that resource, and we fill that void.
Hmm.
There's a huge value in that, long term, short term. And I tell a story all the time in my Monday morning meetings. We were asked years and years and years ago to do this small barbecue area for this house in Delray Beach, Florida, and it was maybe a $10,000-15,000 job. Now think about
Oh,
what we
okay.
did.
That's what I was laughing when you said small, because okay, right.
Maybe 100,000, maybe 10 or 15 is a little bit light, but it's small barbecue area, new barbecue,
Yeah.
countertops, a little bit of stucco work, no big deal, new hood. Really, really small job for us. And you can go on our social media and you'll understand that. Um, we took that job because we recognized who the client was.
Hmm.
Not even 3 years later, I did $20 million worth of work for them. So I took
You earned
something
the right.
most people at our level would be like, no, we're too busy. We don't have time for that. We don't want to do that. We say yes to those smaller projects because of that relationship down the road.
Knowing, yeah, it's incredible. Even in my business, relationships is everything. I
Yes,
can't
sir.
tell you how many people come to me because of broken relationships or promises from other places. And let me change gears a little bit here, because you bought this business. Let's do this by number of employees. When you bought Dale Construction, and then you renamed it to RB
RWB construction.
RWB. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
How many employees was it when you bought it?
So just kind of back up a little bit. I was running Dale Construction Corporation, so my fee structure, my the way I was being paid through Dale Construction involved me being a business also and kind of consulting for Dale Construction.
I
And
see.
that's how I was dealing with RWB. So RWB actually existed before I even bought Dale Construction Corporation. We just kept the name and rolled over to it.
Right.
I think we rolled over from Dale Construction with 8 employees 6 years ago. So
Eight people
anyone that
6
worked
years
for
ago.
Dale at the time came with us.
Oh, good. Yeah, 100%.
Yes, sir.
That's excellent.
So we took 100% of everybody we had there at the time. And then we started to grow and just have continued to ever since. We have a great structure. And so once you create that hierarchy and you truly have it, and I can send you a copy of what our hierarchy looks like. I just cross out some names, but once you have that, plugging people in and growing
Oh,
that
I'm
from the
so glad
top
you said that.
becomes
It's
much easier.
I, so one of the things that we do in business coaching is, we're trying to put simple systems in place, and one of the simplest systems is a visual. And so it's a coaching exercise. We're like, let's build an organizational chart, and we'll get a guy who's maybe 10 employees, and they're like, why do we need an org chart? I know who everybody is. Like, because I want to see it on paper, but that's a snapshot of today. Then we're going to talk about what it needs to look like in the future. So now we've got a plan. We've got the gaps we can see. And there's certain things that myself and my coaches look for. There's flags that go off in the org chart that tell us where there's going to be a constriction point. Anyways, let me get back to you for a second. So you bought it 6 years ago with 8 employees. What's your head count now?
34.
34. I love it.
So it depends how you look at it. We have a sister company that we set up very specifically. That's a logistics and embarkation company. We did this at the point of COVID.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what embarkation is. What does that mean?
So their job, and we did this because of COVID, but we're seeing the same supply chain issues. We
Okay.
buy out the project early, and let's just call it a $2 million window package.
And then you
That
store
window
it?
package gets delivered to our logistics and embarkation company, and they're responsible for each part and piece and component that came in on our $2 million order, not only to receive, but then to send it back out to the field.
I
So we
see.
started looking at these, 20 and 30,000 square foot jobs and the way the product comes onto our job site, the way we
I
store it on
see.
our job site. And we realized and recognized that there was an opportunity to hold things back at the warehouse level, keep them
Right.
protected, and feed our jobs as they're needed.
Nice.
So we set that up to deal with the supply chain issues, but we recognize it as such an opportunity to continue to grow and be great at what we're doing that we're not pulling that away because COVID's gone away. We're keeping that as part of our business, as part of the way we do business.
And I would
It's
imagine then you
totally-
don't get surprises when, sorry, the window package didn't arrive.
uh, or sorry, your window package arrived, but we're missing 3 sliders. I know months prior because we have ours, they take in what they're taking in, and there's a discrepancy. Okay, well, where's my 3 extra sliders? Instead of we have all of it stuffed into a garage on a construction site, we get everything installed, and we realize we don't have the 3 sliders.
Right.
It's
Right.
buys me months and months of time to deal with that. And that goes across the board for everything: plumbing fixtures, HVAC, appliances.
Cabinetry. As I mentioned, my other show is all about cabinetry and millwork. And one of the tipping points for a mill, I'll just say a mill workshop because that's more in the era that you work in, is a concept called pre-build and store. So we know all the elevations we're going to make, but there's a bunch of stuff we can make in advance and have made so that we keep our guys working at maximum productivity. It reduces your overtime because stuff is already made. And then as other pieces come on track, you just start to make them. So you're at third.
If you don't mind if I jump on that, but even as a custom home builder, with our cabinetry businesses and our millwork businesses, you can look at what the designer's drawn in almost any circumstance. And we've worked with some of the top designers in the world.
Yeah.
And you could take, okay, well, this is a secondary bedroom vanity. Does it need to, have the waterfall stone edge and go directly to the edge of the adjacent wall? Or can it be freestanding where it doesn't matter? We'll have the wiggle room to move it around. And that's a product that now I can have stored. I can have sitting in the warehouse. I don't need field measurements. It's still going to be absolutely amazing and beautiful. The client is really never going to know the difference. I mean, it's always something we talk about on the front and they know we're
No,
doing it.
yeah, but
It gives you
it's
this opportunity
understanding.
to be that much faster in the construction process. Now, there's certain places, the kitchen, her master closet, important areas where you just can't do that, and that kind of comes in the schedule. But there's
Yeah.
plenty of areas in the house where you just sit the cabinetry off the wall just enough where it's going to fit, and you pre-build it and you store it.
Rebuild and store. It's funny, the same concepts work. And again, thank you for saying that. This is about the business of the construction business. You and I haven't talked about tools at all. We haven't even talked about selections. It's about the business of the contracting business. Let me ask this question that I think some people out there listening have as a curiosity. How do I get on your list as a sub? What do I have to do to earn my way as, let's say your cabinetry sub or your plumbing sub? How do I do that?
So we have a full-time estimator that works for us, and he's really the kind of the filter on that at this point. I
Hmm.
used to be, and candidly, I'm in the business of running a business at this point, not
I
as
love
much
it.
as I used to
That's why
be.
you're a guest on the show, just so you know. Yeah.
I appreciate that. But Scott kind of filters and qualifies those subs. We give them the opportunity to bid. If their numbers in line, our executive project manager that is running that job will then secondary qualify them, go see a project, see what they're doing. If we like them, we will give them one of our smaller projects.
Sure.
New millwork company. We have these 3 closets and a living room wall built in that needs to be done. We'll give them that package as their first opportunity to work with us. They succeed, they do great. Everything they said happens. All right, well, here's a 30,000 square foot house. Give us a
Right.
bid on this.
So
But
they
the
have
way,
to earn their way in. They have to
yes,
earn it. They don't automatically get $1 million millwork package or a $300,000 ladies closet.
no.
They got
Because
to
as
earn their
a
way up.
contractor and the people watching this know this, if they fail, it's my tail. It's not their tail.
Well,
Ultimately, it's
trust me,
my
it's their tail
issue.
too. Because they're going to hear it.
They will, and they won't get any of my future work. But in the state of Florida, if you have to litigate against somebody, you're 3+ years before you're solving anything. So the
Yeah,
person gets the person in the company, the
you get the
GC
heat.
ends up dealing with that.
Yeah, you get the heat for sure.
And if you're running a good company, you stand up for whoever you hire. So we definitely pre-qualify. We try on small stuff. We give them the opportunity. If they hit a home run, we'll take them as far as we can. I mean, we have companies that literally their businesses they're run by mine,
Uh-oh.
subcontractors.
Uh-oh.
So
Well, that's something we talk about here on the show too, is that you never want to. So this is a message to everybody. Rob, bunny ears right now. Put your fingers in yours. Yeah.
earmuff.
Never, as a contractor, have all of your business with one company like a GC.
And I'll tell you why. I'll
You
give you
can't.
even a better
Yeah,
example.
please tell me why.
I can't swear, but I can say FAPO. Um, we I've had businesses where the majority of their work was coming through us, and they got fat and happy and forgot how
Ah,
important the quality, the dollars, the schedule. They lost sight of kind of the RWB way,
mm,
and we are very good about warning people and giving them chances and giving them second chances. But I have a threshold, and if you continue to not do things the way I expect them and what our clients are paying for, we'll take
right.
that carpet out from underneath you as fast as we need to. And we've seen some businesses hurt by that. So your point during my earmuff time is it's correct. But it's also true in our industry and what we're doing down here that we do have probably a handful, if not two, of subcontractors that their businesses are based off of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of the people listening here understand that they want to have that diversity in client base, and they want to run it like a business. I think the good news in our industry is also the bad news in our industry. And the bar for success is very low. There's my daughter was a competitive swimmer, and one of her friends just graduated from technical college, and he started in construction. Great kid, great work ethic. I mean, he's a competitive swimmer. He's just got that internal engine, right? So he starts as a kid on a construction site. They just made him foreman. He goes, it's amazing what happens when you're not on meth or drinking all day. And so my daughter comes home last night and says, guess what? Jacob's a superintendent, and he just started in construction because he's got that work ethic, that attitude. He's not doing drugs. And so, how is it that somebody can advance so quickly? It's because everybody else is willing to be left behind because they don't show up to do the job.
No,
That was my rant. How did I do?
no, listen, I completely agree, and congratulations to him. There's a double-edged sword to that, though. There's a very famous condo developer, the
Uh-oh.
highest, the
Yeah.
highest, without saying who they are.
Sure.
The project in Boca Raton.
Quote
That
unquote. Yeah.
we were supposed to do a unit in there for a client. It was a complete fit out with a designer. Project that building's still not being completed, and this is going back 3-4 years ago. But when we first went over to walk the building, I met with the superintendent. He was a younger kid, very ambitious, smart kid, well
Mm.
spoken. I really enjoyed talking to him. And I said, what's your background? How long have you been here? He said, I've been on this site for 7 months, and it's multiple towers. It's a hell of a job to be a superintendent on.
Too much for, yeah. Yeah.
And I said, where did you come from before that? He said, I sold insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree
There's
with him.
definitely an
Hey,
oops,
be
but
real careful with that.
you got to be real careful with that. But but the point goes back to what you're making. It's about attitude and willingness. There's an opportunity there. And now our job as the leaders of these companies is to make sure that somebody who takes that position has the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Don't try to cheap out and get a PM
Or
for
your
nothing.
business is set up in such a way that there's checks and balances. Do I have a couple greener superintendents? Absolutely. I'll be the first one to say it. I don't care if I tell the world. These guys are ambitious. They work hard. They try hard. They'll work 12 hours a day if they have to get things done. They understand the mission. They want to learn. They constantly are asking the right questions. They're calling the subcontractors and asking the right questions. And at the end of the day, they have an executive project manager that's responsible for that site above them and to correct them and help them along the way.
So there's that hierarchy again.
I'd rather see somebody fail trying than not try at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of fail trying, let's end with this question. Let's imagine for a second that you have to reinvent the business from scratch. It's just you in your basement office. Oh, look at the inhale there, and you're ready to go. But it's just you in your basement office. All you've got left is a computer and your desk and a phone. What do you do to reinvent yourself?
That's a really good question. And we actually set this business up, RWB, in my garage on 4 fold-out tables.
I've seen one of your videos. It looks like you guys are actually having a meeting in a garage where you just got to gravel on the floor. But that's normal for us.
I mean, there is an element in this business of smoke and mirrors. You have to. I think if I was to have to start over, I would start with developing and building a website that represented what I wanted to be.
To your ideal client, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
And I would start there, and then I would start targeting from that where that needed to go, where the information needed to go, how we got that out to the world. But I really truly believe that even with new guys coming, starting their construction companies, and I preach this all the time to my team, perception is everything. If you're presenting a product, like, stupidest example, email signatures. I can't stand when people's email signatures are all screwed up, or there's 15 different email signatures within their organization. If you're consistent, if you have a form, a standard, if you're communicating what you're trying to achieve through your media, through your marketing, I think people latch onto that. I think that especially my clientele, they want.
They do. Well, they do.
They want to see that success. Coming up in my career, even at Dale Construction, it was always, and I hope no one takes this the wrong way, but the contractor is supposed to be poor on the project. The client looks at let me talk through that.
Yeah.
If I pull up in a G-Wagon onto a job site with clients, the immediate thought is we're paying him too much.
We're paying him too much. Yeah.
In the market I play in now, I'm no longer supposed to be poor.
Right.
Be
You're
the
supposed to pull up in a G-Wagon.
we have got to that place where
Yeah.
now, if we're not pulling up in nice, clean, new trucks, if we don't have everything branded and new shirts on our guys and all of the things, they perceive us to be lesser than the
Lesser.
quality that they want.
Yeah.
So there's a dance and it's tricky. And, to answer where I would come from if I was starting over, I would start with the website. I would start to build on digital format what I want it to be.
Yeah. What if I can comment on what you just said? I said you got wiped out and you had to start again. It's just you in your basement office with a desk, a computer, and a phone. And the first thing you thought about, who's my ideal client and how can I connect with them? And everything else will come from there. And I hope everybody takes that message. Once we figure out our ideal client, and we do, we talk about it here all the time. Like we'll do things called the end of job report. I'm sure you do, and an autopsy. What do you call it? End of job summary.
Essentially,
Like you look at a job, where did we win? Where did we lose on that job? But when you go look at the data, it'll tell you, go do more of those kind of jobs with that kind of situation and less of those other jobs. And you just get better as you go.
we kind of just do an after action. We
Is
look at
it?
our failures, we look at our successes. We look at different things. We look at things even to the effect of, our new clients that have just started moving down from California, New York, want to keep their houses colder than anyone in Florida was ever engineering.
Really?
Where the engineers, the MEP engineers in Florida, the code in Florida says you start balancing that to 72 degrees. We have people that want to keep their house at 66. And when you keep a state full of glass at 66, you automatically inherently start to create problems. So we're
Okay.
starting to take those after actions, even from this last round of beautiful estates we just finished, and applying them in the ones that we're going forward so that we don't have the same problem. And that's my Wednesday morning
Interesting.
meeting. That's my
Interesting.
executive team talking about, hey, this is what we're seeing. Hey, the water bug system on the house that the insurance company is now making us get is triggered by the pool autofill. All right, we need to take the pool autofill off of any of our new projects off of that loop and put it on its own separate loop outside of that protection system, because every estate now has to have this water alarm. Uh,
Mm.
so you digest and you dissect where you succeeded, where you failed, and then you take those, you fix them, and you apply them again.
And you apply, and you talk about them with the next customer or their
That's right.
engineer and architect to make sure, hey, this billionaire is moving down from Minnesota. They're going to want a cold house.
Well, even our, we often are contracting MEP, structural, civil, DEP engineers. We have that after actions list. These are the things that we see in the past. Hey, these are the things we want you guys watching for. In our subcontracts to our subcontractors, there's an entire inclusion exclusion on our contract for almost every trade. And where
Mm.
that came from was
Mhm.
successes and failures.
Neat.
What we want to see from the plumber, how many hose bibs per square foot. It's kind of a bad example.
No, no, no.
How
But it comes back to, look, I was watching like Adam Smith's video. It comes down to communication. And so I'm just watching your video. It's crazy that one's got 300 views and Wendy's has got like, I don't know, 100 or something.
we
And those
can't
are the ones
we
everybody should
can't
be
figure that
watching.
algorithm out.
I can't either. We've got a thing here called the Construction Millionaire Blueprint. It is the actual training flow chart I give to the coaches on our team when we're trying to find the root cause of an issue with a business. It's the least downloaded thing here.
Yeah,
Do you want another crazy story that has nothing to do with
I would
anything?
love it.
So in my path, I've built and sold a couple of businesses. One of the businesses that I sold was a mail order pharmacy, believe it or not. But before it was a mail order pharmacy, we cut our teeth, got our chops on being a mail order bookstore. I got used books from like Salvation Armies and thrift stores. I came up with a system to code these books because we were selling on eBay and a website called half.com and Amazon. And you had to have a way to code the book. So they were just coded 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 was horrendous condition, 1 was good condition. Most of our perfect condition books were books on self-improvement, and they didn't sell. They just didn't sell.
That's a
But
great
trashy
fact.
novels with Fabio on the cover, we couldn't keep them. They just sold all the time. It makes no sense. You get a Brian Tracy book that sits on our shelf, brand new, mint condition. And people are like, yeah, I don't know if I need that. Yeah, you need that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the, yeah. Anyways,
There's a lot to be said for
Mr. Burrage, if somebody wants to find you in this big wide world, find out more. I mean, obviously, you've got a great YouTube channel called Building for Billionaires. I don't think you can be much more obvious than that. People can't figure out who you deal with, then they need help. But how do we find you in this big wide world?
I think that the easiest place to probably find us is rwbdesignbuildlive.com, and that'll put you in all of our social media. But we're on all social media platforms. And
Mm,
Dominic, if you don't mind, we'll send you a QR code and a link for people to go to and catch up with us on social media, catch up with us on
yeah.
our website, and kind of follow what we have going on. This year is going to be really exciting. We have a 30,000 square foot house that we are very, there'll be time lapses that we'll be releasing.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you saw on our YouTube channel, we changed our class platform. And now our classes that we'll be releasing are specific to the building components and how we're building this 30,000 square foot house. So we started with the piles, the Argocast piles. We went to foundation, and now we're going to that next lift. And we're doing segments and videos on what that looked like and
Right.
the hows and whys that we're going to be releasing. So we're really excited about what we have coming up, and we're investing heavily into that. And not just for our team. I learned the hard way on a lot of this stuff and what some of this stuff meant. And there's plenty of work for all of us out there in the world. And,
Yeah,
there is
there
no
is.
secret sauce to that stuff. I have no problem sharing it. And we get excited when other people are learning from it.
Yeah. There's no room for scarcity mentality. Construction's never going away.
No, no.
It's been around forever and it's going to continue to be around. I have a feeling you're going to be back as a guest one day, so don't be surprised when you get the phone call.
I would love to. I truly enjoyed this, and I appreciate you having me on. I hope somebody got something from this, and feel free to use our info account if they have any questions for us. It's right
What's
on
your
our
info
website.
account? Sorry, what do you mean
It's
your info
info
account?
at rwbdesignbuildlive.com. It's just an email account.
Oh,
It's
okay.
off of our website. If your followers, if your viewers have questions, or if there's anything we can kind of help them with, we're happy to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me do one other thing. Folks, if you're listening to this, and obviously you are, go to the YouTube channel, and for the people development side of your business, go look at what Robert's put up there with his team, because that should either give you inspiration or training videos to give to your own team for the same positions. Like, we talked about Wendy. He's a project administrator. Adam's a superintendent. So if you're trying to figure out how to get that right super, why don't you model them against what Robert's done, at least at the start? If it matches the way you want to grow the business, do that. Anyways, I've got a lot of soapboxes I stood on today, but I'm excited to talk to you. All right, thanks, Robert.
I'm not sure we actually even stayed on the topic we started with, but it was a great time, and I truly appreciate you letting me be on.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dominic.
Yeah, bye-bye. Well, well, well. Thank you, Robert, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Those are some great insights. And folks, I hope you recognized it's just about the zeros. We all have the same problems. We all have the same opportunities in front of us. It's how we go about attacking them. And that's what we heard here from Robert. I love his conviction. I love the power of his mindset. And we talk so much about mindset. I mean, you guys know it's burned right into the show, because at the beginning of the show, I always talk about mindset, and then I immediately go to the dad joke section. It's because mindset is important. If you've got a negative or a scarcity mindset, it's going to come back and bite you. And Robert has the mindset of a go forward facing contractor. And you know what? You and I may not have met yet, but I know you do too, because you're listening to the show. If you don't have that mindset, don't call me. But listen, I'm going to ask, what were the professional development tools that you think you needed listening to that interview with me and Robert? Is it the go back report, so you can finally figure out your pricing, make sure that you're profitable on every job, make sure that you're sticking to your numbers? If that's the case, text me and say go back. You guys know my cell phone number, 315 903 7853. I mixed up my own phone number. How do I do that? 315 903 7853. Maybe it's the blind spots assessment. Maybe that's it. Maybe you just want to do a gut check and say, okay, hang on a second. Let me take the lay of the land around me. We're going to stop for a second. I'm going to go to a coffee shop. I'm going to print this report out. I'm going to put in my headphones. I'm going to face the wall so nobody can bug me. And I'm just going to do the blind spots assessment. It's 20 questions. 20 questions to help you figure out on your own where you need to start. The hard the hard part and the discipline comes from this. Once you figure out what your most critical blind spot is, it's up to you to focus on that and revisit it every day, every day, every day. I want you to revisit it on Monday, out on Tuesday, out on Wednesday. Yes, I'm going to say all the days of the week. Watch what happens here. And on Thursday and on Friday. I also want you to think about it on Saturday and on Sunday, not while you're at church. Stay focused, right? But then I also want you to think about it every hour of the day. And the more you are fanatical about focusing on that blind spot, the more you will solve it. It's just the way of the world. And so that's what I want you to do. That blind spots assessment is killer. You've heard other contractors talk about it. It's probably one of our most popular, is that the right word? Professional development tools. If you want the blind spots self-assessment, just shoot me a note. Just say blind spots and send me a text. You guys know the number, 315-903-7853. And it sure does help when I say the number right. I promised today that we are going to simplify and solve a common business problem. We're going to take a business coaching approach you may not have considered before. Let me set the scene for you. This is a contractor, a home renovation contractor that does $1 million, or just did $1 million last year. Actually, to be specific, 1.075 million in sales. Very interesting renovation contractor. They like to focus on higher end projects, but they find themselves stuck on medium projects, not really hitting their stride and able to really flex their muscles. The owner's a very creative, very outgoing guy, also very business focused, really knows his stuff, and then his partner is his wife, and they are just running a great business. She's kind of the design side of things. So together, along with a crew of people they use and subs, they've built that from nothing into $1 million business. He left corporate and decided he really liked working with his hands. So he slung on the tool belt and started working his way up from there. And now he is with $1 million business, but he's also finding himself stuck. So, and stuck not in a bad way. He's just like, I got to $1 million, but what are my blind spots? Right. So we're now doing the strategic plan. And I wanted to share his notes. Obviously, we're going to keep his name confidential so that we don't give away any confidences here. But here's a couple of the things that he said when we were doing our strategic plan and we were talking about goal setting for the day. So this is him, open heart saying, this is what I need to solve in the problem. And the three questions are this. Well, first we start with a confidentiality reminder. I said, what are your goals for today? Then the second question is going to be, what if your customers or sub trades knew we were having this meeting? What would their goals for you be? And then what if your team members knew you were having this meeting? What would their goals be? So I'll repeat those questions again, because I want you to see what we're doing as business coaches to think strategically and act tactically, right? I want you to think about things from a different perspective. So we create a well-rounded picture, and then we'll go back in and start to solve the true issues. We're not going to go after the symptoms. We're going to go after the causes. It's maybe a little more than I needed to say right there, but I want you to know we're trying to find the root cause and work on that root cause. So here is the goals that they said for today. I'm just going to read through them. So their overall goals for today: husband and wife team, $1 million rental contractor. I want a direction for where we're heading. I want a 10-year target. They want to know where their business is going to be in 10 years. I want to identify and develop where we can improve. I want to build our processes stronger. I want to make our business a money-making machine. Let me stop for a second. Have you already agreed with this guy? By the way, we're going to call him Bobby Benelli. Some of you already know where I got that name. Bobby Benelli is his name. It's not his name, but we're going to say it's his name. Imagine if you solved one of those things in your business. What about if you truly knew where you were going to go in 10 years with this business? What if you could make your business a money-making machine? How much would that change things for you? Let's continue on and see what his other goals are. I want ROI. I want return on investment. And in that one, he's talking to me and my coaching team, by the way. He's like, look, I understand coaching's an investment, but you're a tool like any other tool. I'm going to invest in that tool. That tool's got to bring me a return. We have that conversation all the time. No problem. But he said it out loud, which I appreciate. He said, if we run like hell, we make money. I want to pay off debt and build my assets. Here's an interesting one. I want to retire with 3 million in assets. I want to retire with 3 million in assets. And he wants to be able to have income after retirement, where his money is working for him. Now, remember, he's $1 million contractor right now, and he's already thinking, I want to own the business, but maybe get a general manager at some point, or I might sell the business, but can we attract the right kind of buyer for that? He has a cottage. He wants to keep the cottage, doesn't want to sell that. And then he has some other goals here that are a little more personal, so I'm going to skip past those. So interesting. Does he sound like you? Do him and his wife sound like you? Those are pretty good broad goals. But here's what we're going to do, and this is a coaching exercise that we've refined over years, is now we're going to change the angle of approach. We're going to come at this from a slightly different angle. And so we change the question. It's still a goal setting question, but we change the question to this. What would your customers and subs have as a goal if they knew you were having this meeting? So paint the picture. Two of your customers meet at a coffee shop and they're talking to each other and they're like, hey, both of us use Bobby Benelli as our renovation contractor. And now they're going to continue having their coffee and they're going to say, you know what, I wish Bobby would really figure out X, Y, and Z. And the other person would say, yeah, you know what, I love working with Bobby Benelli renovation contractors, but I think they've got some room to improve in 1, 2, and 3. So this is what we're doing now. I'm challenging this owner, myself and our coaches, we're challenging the owner to think about it a different way. So back to the question, what would the goals be of your customers and subs if they knew you were having this meeting? Number one, tighten up their timelines. Bobby Benelli needs to tighten up his timelines. They need to get their communication better. They need to be more organized. I want flowcharts and PDFs. They say here, we build trust, but we're not as organized as people would like. So again, organization, systems, we talk about simple systems here all the time. He's craving that. That's why he's sitting in this meeting with us. The customers would also say they control their they have a good quality control. And this is them speaking themselves. They're saying we do a crappy job of change orders. And so the customers and subs viewpoint would be, let's get them better at change order and change order management. And we've already recognized by this point that we need a system. How does that system look? Let's take change orders just as an example. How many of us, show of hands, raise your hand. If you're driving, don't raise your hand, just nod your head. How many of us could do better at change orders? And look, we don't want to do estimates and projects as if we're going to put change orders in there, but they come up, right? Imagine that your company was better at change orders, but only a little bit better. Only a bit better by $100 a day. $100 a day. So if you were to find change orders on a project and you were to increase your profits by $100 a day, what would that mean? What would that actually mean to your company if you were able to get better at change orders by $100 a day? Well, we could do the math pretty easy, right? If it's $100 a day that we're trying to do better, and we're working 250 days a year, just rough math, that's 25 grand. So fixing your change order problem is a $25,000 question. That's a pretty good question. Maybe if you do your blind spots assessment, that's the one that floats to the top, and maybe that's the one you chase Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that that's the answer, but it could be one of your answers. Right now, let me go back and ask that same question of you, the audience listening, but we're going to not do it from money. We're going to do it from time. What if you could save an hour a day somewhere in your company from doing a better job of change orders? Well, we can do the math on that as well. An hour a day, and we're open 250 days a year. That's 250 hours a year. 250 hours divided by 40 hours a week is you have saved yourself 6.25 weeks of time. 6.25 weeks of time. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time that gets wasted. And that's just at 1 hour per day. And I want to remind you, that is just us talking about the ROI of fixing the change order thing, which, by the way, is fixable. Everything is fixable. There's nothing that we can't solve. Everything is solvable. Everything. And so I just pulled one piece out of there. But I want you to ask yourself that question. And remember, one of his goals here that he put right in front of me is me and the other coaches. I want ROI. I want to make sure coaching gives me the kind of returns I expect as a businessman. Love that language. That's normal language for us. And I just pulled change orders out of there, but he also talked about quality control, communication, timelines, etc. Okay, so that was question 2, by the way. So question 1 was, tell me your goals for today. Pretty broad, pretty general, right? Hit the side of a barn. Then we turned the focus down. He said, what if your customers and subs knew we were having this meeting? What would their goals for you be? Okay, cool. We got one more. Remember the third question? What would happen if your team members knew you were having this meeting? You're sitting down with a business coaching team, right? You're sitting with me and probably Jake or Lee or Ryan, and we're having this big 4-hour strategic planning session where the goal is to download everything from your brain, all the things you've got floating around, onto a piece of paper, and that piece of paper becomes our boss. Now we can always shoulder check. We know what we're doing. Anytime we don't know what's next, we just go shoulder check that piece of paper. Oh, we're supposed to be working on that now. Oh, we forgot to look at this. Oh, we always have a reference point, just like blueprints, right? No different than building a home, renovating a home in the case of these guys. So the question, the goal setting question, what would the goals of your team members be if they knew we were having this meeting? So interesting. Let's put the power in the hands of your employees where they say, okay, you're having this meeting. Here's what I hope you guys finally figure out. Bobby Benelli and Bobby Benelli Renovators. Um, Interesting. Point number one, I wish we were more organized. Point number two, I wish we figured out our scheduling better. Point number three, we want to know we're going to grow this business. It's not just a job. We actually have a mission. We're moving in a direction, right? What are the opportunities for them personally? And we want to increase our communication. So that's the start of a 4 hour, probably a 5 hour meeting in this case, because there's a number of us in there. That's the start of the meeting. Imagine that you had solved one, two, or three of those things over the course of a year. That's the goal in front of us, right? Nobody starts working with a business coach because you want to slide backwards. You want to move forward. So they are right now 1.075 million in sales as a residential renovation contractor. That is the task they put down on paper for all of us. Remember, there is still 3.5 hours of this meeting left that's going to lay out the course of action for us on what do we want sales to be. And what does it mean to have sales at that level? Do we have the right clients? Do we have enough of the right clients? Are they bringing in the right kind of business? Right. Then what's our system for onboarding that client and making sure that they're happy during that process? Then what's our production, our manufacturing, our service system, whatever it is we do, right? Some of you listening are roofers. Some of you are renovators. Some of you do HVAC. Some of you do kitchen cabinets. Everybody, we've all got a different trade. That's fine. This is about the business of business. Once we produce the product or the service, we got to make sure we have the administration in place to bill for it properly. And there's a lot of gotchas in there. And the reason that you work with a business coach or go through this system is so we figure those things out faster and you solve them quicker. I cannot wait to see where Bobby Benelli Renovators goes. Remember, that is not his name. But such an interesting way to start things. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Listen, if you want to see what another renovator has been able to do, we just got a video finished from James Mitten. Now we're able to use James's name and he knows we're using his name. Hey, James, Rocky Point Carpentry. He does renos as well. We just posted on YouTube a video of his Argentina dove hunt. So he actually went through the Construction Millionaire Bootcamp, did a fantastic job. He has a great video. If you're in Construction Millionaire Bootcamp, you can always go back to the old episodes. They're all in the library, and you can see his progression through all the 6 modules, the 6-week program. But he was able to hit a couple of personal goals. And so he and his wife had always wanted to go to Argentina for a dove hunt. So through the Dallas Safari Club, they bought a dove hunt on auction. They actually took 2 friends with them, and we sponsored him to go on that dove hunt. So the video's just been posted on YouTube. I think it's called Renovation Contractor Bucket List Hunt or something like that. You'll find it on the Profit Tool Belt channel. You'll also find it on our other channel, Cabinet Maker Profit System. But James Mitten, you can watch his Argentina dove hunt. You can see the size of the steaks they serve in Argentina. Oh my, I gotta go just for that. He crosses a pond filled with piranhas to get to the duck blind one day. Because of course, you're in Argentina on a duck hunt. Why not throw a dove hunt? Why not throw a duck hunt in there too? All right. Let's start to wrap things up. There's a bunch of professional development tools to talk about today. Definitely the blind spots assessment. If you don't have the blind spots assessment, go ahead and get that from me. Just send me a text. You guys know I just say blind spots. The cell phone number is 315-903-7853. If you just want to talk about your business, you're not sure what direction is or what might be next, set a time to talk with me. I set aside 20, 30-minute blocks of time to talk to people. It's relatively easy to get on my calendar as long as you're a little bit flexible with how long it takes, because sometimes we're 2 weeks out. We're pretty busy. But just text me and say, hey, Dom, let's talk. And then you know what we'll do? We'll talk. And you guys know the cell, 315-903-7853. One more time, I want to take a second, thank both you, the audience, and Robert for listening to the show. Look, when was the last time you were able to sit down for 40, 45 minutes and pick the brain of a builder who does 50, 60, 70, $80 million homes? It's the modern technology and taking advantage of the things in front of you. This is a simple system. You're tagging into a simple system. There's almost zero chance that any of us in our lives would be able to access somebody at Robert's level of business unless you came to look for a show like this and you're committed to taking steps forward. So I'm very proud of my team for finding a guest like Robert. I'm very thankful and grateful to Robert for joining us. And then I'm grateful to you. You're a forward-facing contractor. You're picking away at the problem so you can make this business everything you want it to be. Folks, you know that this podcast is just a way for us to kill time until you and I have a chance to have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine across the table from each other. And that's what I really look forward to. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for checking in. Bye-bye.